Breaking news! Monday started off hot behind the scenes for the Miami Dolphins, and what I'm about to tell you could completely change the way you view this team heading into the 2024 season. There are some serious concerns, shocking revelations, and a bold message coming straight from inside the Dolphins organization. The truth is, if Miami doesn't fix this critical issue on defense, their Super Bowl dreams may be nothing more than a dream. And let's be real, Chris Grier should have been fired years ago, but for some bizarre reason, he's still here making decisions that could make or break this franchise. I've got everything you need to know about what's really going on, but before we dive in, hit like right now, but only if you've been with the Miami Dolphins for 20 plus years. It's always awesome to see loyal fans showcasing, and if your heart bleeds water and orange like mine, leave this in the comments. Go Dolphins! My heart bleeds water and orange. Now buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal may leave you perplexed. Defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver made some really eye-opening statements in his recent press conference that could drastically impact how this Miami Dolphins defense looks in 2024. Weaver was brutally honest about what needs to change, and fans, you better pay attention. He made it crystal clear. Turnovers are the name of the game this season. This isn't just a throwaway comment. This is a direct mission statement for the entire defense moving forward. Weaver explained something that should concern all of us, but also give us a little hope. Towards the end of last season, offenses started figuring us out. They were hitting us with screen passes and forcing our underneath coverage to step up. That opened massive throwing lanes behind the linebackers and safeties. Teams were also hammering us with the run game, and it was painfully obvious that the Dolphins' defense had trouble adjusting quickly enough. Weaver flat out admitted that while the defense had its moments, it absolutely failed in one critical area, creating turnovers. Imagine this for a second. Weaver said it himself. If the Dolphins had just 6 more takeaways last season, that's 6 less possessions for opponents and 6 more chances for Tua Tagovailoa and the offense to work their magic. And when you start looking back at some of those painful losses, it's hard not to think about how different the season could have been. Take the Cardinals game, for example. We lost that game 28-27. Tua left the field with the lead twice, but the defense couldn't close the deal. Just one turnover in that game could have sealed the win. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills game, where a ridiculous 61-yard field goal cost us the game, 30-27. You telling me one forced turnover wouldn't have flipped that result? Come on. And don't even get me started on the Colts game. We lost by 6. A critical fumble by Raheem Mostert hurt bad, but where was the defense to get that ball back? It's a pattern, a gut-wrenching pattern that we cannot ignore if we want to see this team in the postseason. Let's break it down with the cold, hard stats. Last year, the Dolphins ranked 27th in the NFL in turnovers with just 16. That's flat out embarrassing. They were also 27th in sacks with only 35. Pressure percentage? A sad 23rd at 20.6%. They also ranked 10th in missed tackles with a gross total of 112. And yet, here's the wild part. They were still 10th in points allowed and 4th in yards allowed. Think about how insane that is. Despite the total failure in creating pressure and turnovers, this defense somehow kept teams from racking up points and yards. It's like building a house without a roof and somehow surviving the storm. Now compare that to 2023, a year where things started out on fire before injuries hit like a wrecking ball. The Dolphins were 8th in turnovers with 27, 3rd in sacks with 54, and 3rd in pressure percentage with 27.7%. Massive improvement, right? But then, the injury bug came for everyone. Jalen Phillips went down. Bradley Chubb went down. Tyreek Hill was banged up. Jalen Waddle missed time. Even the offensive line was patched together with duct tape and prayers. By the end of the year, the Dolphins ranked 22nd in points allowed but still held 10th in yards. The difference was clear. The defense was forcing mistakes early in the season, and the offense was humming. But as the injuries piled up, the collapse was inevitable. This is exactly why Anthony Weaver is screaming for change. He understands that if the defensive front can stop the run and apply serious pressure on the quarterback, then the secondary won't be left hanging out to dry like there were so many times last season. And that's crucial because, let's be real, the secondary right now is a major concern. Jalen Ramsey is technically still on the roster, but realistically, he's out. You have to look at it that way. It's only a matter of time before something happens there, whether it's a trade or some other move. And while the addition of rookie pass rusher Chop Robinson is exciting, and you've still got Zach Sealer holding down the trenches, the truth is the Dolphins are walking a tightrope. If this front seven doesn't generate consistent pressure, we're going to see the same movie all over again. Corners left stranded, quarterbacks sitting pretty in clean pockets, and receivers running free once plays break down. Weaver laid it out plain and simple. If you can pressure the quarterback, you can force rush throws, bad decisions, and turnovers. And if you can get those turnovers, suddenly Tua Tyreek, Waddle, and the chain have more chances to go nuclear on opposing defenses. It's that simple. But here's the other side of the coin that should make every Dolphins fan sweat a little. The offensive line. Yeah, they made some improvements, but there's no depth. None. One injury, and it's the NFL. Injuries happen, and it's back to chaos. That's the part that no one wants to talk about, but everyone knows deep down. So now I turn it over to you, Dolphins Nation. Do you believe Anthony Weaver can fix this defense? Can this front seven generate the turnovers and sacks that were completely missing in crucial games last year? Because here's where things get even more intense. When Anthony Weaver talks about turning this defense into a turnover machine, it's not just coach speak. It's a survival tactic for this team to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. You look at how the Dolphins were exploited. Teams figured out that if you neutralize the pass rush, Miami's secondary becomes vulnerable. It's not rocket science. Without pressure, every defensive back is eventually going to lose the battle in coverage. You can have the best corner in the league, but if a quarterback has 4, 5, even 6 seconds in the pocket, someone's getting open. And that's exactly what happened time and time again last season. Weaver even admitted that teams were targeting Miami with screens and quick passes to pull the linebackers and safeties up, opening deep shots over the top. We saw it firsthand. Remember that brutal play where DK Metcalf burned the defense deep? That wasn't just a blown coverage. It was a direct result of zero pressure up front. And let's be honest, when the defensive front can't get home, the coverage doesn't stand a chance. Now look at the current roster construction. You've got Jalen Phillips returning from an Achilles tear. That's a major injury for an edge rusher. Will he be the same explosive player off the edge? Nobody knows. Bradley Chubb is also rehabbing a torn ACL. 2 of your top pass rushers are coming off season-ending injuries. Then you've got Chop Robinson, a rookie with tons of potential but still completely unproven at the NFL level. The weight of the pass rush could very well fall on his shoulders far sooner than anyone expected. And what about the interior defensive line? Sure, Zach Sealer is a beast, no doubt about it. Christian Wilkins is gone, though, and that's a huge hole. The Dolphins drafted Mo Kamara and added some depth pieces, but are those guys ready to take on the responsibility of being disruptive forces in both the run and pass game? That's a massive gamble. Let's not sugarcoat this. The margin for error is razor thin. If the defensive line doesn't dominate, the secondary is toast. And speaking of the secondary, it's a complete question mark right now. Jalen Ramsey's situation is unresolved. Xavier Howard is gone. Kader Kohou is solid, but asking him to be your top corner? That's a tough ask. Rookie cornerback Patrick McMorris might be a hidden gem, but again, you're rolling the dice on young, unproven players. The safety room has some stability with Javon Holland holding it down, but even that group lacks depth. One injury, and you're looking at undrafted free agents or practice squad call-ups trying to stop Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, or Patrick Mahomes. How does that make you feel, Dolphins fans? Let's not forget about the linebackers either. David Long Jr. has shown flashes but struggled with injuries. Jerome Baker is gone. They brought in Jordan Brooks, but he's coming off a major knee injury too. Are we sensing a theme here? This entire defense is built on the hope that injured players return to form and that young players develop at lightning speed. Hope is not a strategy. And then there's the man pulling the strings, Chris Greer. I don't know how this guy still has a job. Seriously, Dolphins fans have been screaming for his firing for years. The inability to build sustainable depth has haunted this team every single season. Look at the offensive line. Look at the secondary. It's the same problems every year, and yet Greer is still here, clinging to his job like a barnacle on a sinking ship.